on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Basketball in March.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Toscano. And here's your host, Joey Toscano.
See, look at that. I got my own theme song now.
I was just going to say, you didn't prepare me for that. That is
I'm moving up in the world.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Donut Bag Podcast, part of the Sportscast Network. Welcome to everybody joining us live. If you want to join in on the conversation, join us on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is just my name, Joey Bag of Donuts, V7F. We're going to talk Penguins. With me is Vince Cohenal. How you doing?
Good.
So the big news this week, and I think it could be described as a shocker, is the Penguins letting go of Mike Sullivan. Do you think? I don't think this was planned. I don't think. I don't know. What do you think happened here?
I think something happened at the Four Nations tournament. Some conversations happened with Chris Drury and Mike Sullivan during the Four Nations tournament. And I think things were put in motion, because I find it very hard to believe that Mike Sullivan was out of a job one week and negotiated the richest coaching contract in NHL history the next week.
Right.
I think the writing was also on the wall. I think that 10 years is a long time for a coach in any profession. And I do think it was probably a mutual parting of the ways. I think maybe Sullivan went to management, Kyle Dubas, and said, if I'm going to stay here, these are the 10 things that need to happen. I don't think, I hate the word demands. That makes it sound like it was like a contentious thing. I think he probably had a conversation with, they both had a conversation, and it was just like, you know what? I don't think that you're the right person at this time for this job. And I think it was just a mutual parting of ways.
I think, yeah. I think one thing is it seemed like a difference of opinion. It seemed like Sullivan wanted to win now. That's every coach ever. You want to win now with what you have. And yeah, he probably said, I don't want to stick around for some rebuild and we're going to play all the kids and all that stuff. I want to win. And I think Dubas is saying, well, I'm looking at 2, 3, 4 years from now. I'm not looking to short term. We went a long-term contender. So I could see that. I'm just surprised. Like you said, 10 years is a long time to be coaching. I'm just surprised it didn't happen a long time ago. To me, it seemed like Sullivan was amazing when he first came on in 2016, 2017. It seemed like he didn't really change what he was doing. And it seemed like the team just was not either couldn't follow what he wanted to do or didn't feel like listening to him anymore. Yeah,
I think that it was a little bit too little too late. We finally saw at the end of this past season, he started playing some of the younger guys. He had, McGroarty until he got hurt playing on the top line. And we saw Koivunen and some of the other younger guys getting regular minutes. Finally, for how many years have we been saying, you've got to call these young guys up and let them play. They can't be healthy scratches. They can't be playing 6 minutes on the fourth line. That's not going to help anybody's development. And it's funny too. I don't know if he just kind of forgot, those young guys helped them win those Stanley Cups in the first year. It was the Jake Gensels and the Brian Rust and the Connor Sherrys that really kind of pushed them over the edge and, were really big contributors to winning those 2 Stanley Cups. But as time went on, he just didn't believe in that. He believed in a more veteran team. And this is just one thing. It seemed like he, just the last 3 seasons just didn't have answers. He just, kept on trotting the same plan out there, for at least the past 2 seasons. You could even say the 3 seasons. Look at the slow starts. Look at the first shot that went in. Now, I know a lot of that's on goaltending and not coaching, but I mean, the slow starts, the blown leads. This was going on for 3 seasons now with no answer. So I think that, again, it was just time for a change. I wanted to bring up this stat. His winning percentage overall in this time that he was here was .537. Seems respectable, right? His winning percentage in his first 7 seasons here was .642.
Yeah.
His winning percentage the last 3 seasons was .555, .537, and .488. So, I mean, we're
Right.
falling off the cliff here. And I mean, I think just looking at that alone, it was time for a change.
Yeah. It just, the debate was, well, he shouldn't be playing those young guys because they weren't good enough. But how are you going to know if they're good enough if you don't play them? And like you said, they're either sitting in the press box, or you have this prospect that's supposed to be a goal scorer and you stick him on the 4th line and let him play 5 minutes a game. Like, it just was not jiving with what Dubas wanted to do.
No, not at all. And like I said, I think it was just the right time. It was probably the right time at the end of last season, to be honest. But I think that they kind of were like, all right, let's try this one more time and see what happens. And, all of this being said, I think Sullivan will be successful in New York. I think that is the right kind of team for him. It's a pretty veteran team. It's almost the same situation that he walked into in Pittsburgh. They won the President's Trophy last year. I mean, it's not like that they don't have talent on that team. I know they traded away some pieces, but I mean, they have a great goalie and they have a nucleus of a great team. I think that he'll go there and do really well. Will he win the Stanley Cup in his first season? Probably not. That is like lightning striking twice. But I think that he'll be successful there. And I think it was just the right time for him to go. I think he'll do well there. And I think the Penguins will find the right coach to come in here, probably more of an up-and-coming guy than, a name like Mike Sullivan.
Is that what I mean? It certainly seems that way. I know the name Rick Tocchet keeps getting thrown around, but it kind of sounds like Dubas wants a younger guy. But how's that going to work with a bunch of veterans? If it was like a team like entirely of prospects or something like that, I could see that working. But I can't see. I mean, they already tried this with Mike Johnson, and it was a disaster. So
yes.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's tough. Stan Fisher asked me. I just sent him a couple paragraphs on what I thought about Mike Sullivan and the coaching change. And one of the things I wrote to him was, it's tough for any coach, including Sullivan, when you've got Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Carlson as your core 4 players. And let's face it, they're not held accountable for anything. And what coach is going to bench a 3-time Norris Trophy winner? Like, it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. There needs to be accountability, but I mean, who's going to reprimand Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, or Erik Karlsson? It's just not going to happen.
You're not benching them. You can't
No,
make them out with a healthy
bench
scratch or something like that. That would be a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine that? Press Erik Karlsson, healthy scratch.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Even though he definitely deserves to be benched on some nights. I mean, your mind is just blown watching him play some nights.
Yeah.
But that makes it tough. It's definitely a unique situation where you've got that core four of veteran guys. And I mean, not just veteran. I mean, we're talking guys that have been in the league 20 years, 3-time Norris Trophy winner, like I said. And then at the same time, you're trying to like have these young players play the system that you want to play, but then they are sitting on the bench and they're going out there, or they're sitting on the bench and they're watching Evgeny Malkin just do whatever the heck he wants to do out there. And Erik Karlsson just makes the most boneheaded decisions you've ever seen. And yet they go out there, they make one bad pass, and they're on the bench for the rest of the game.
Yeah. It's funny. And let's say, and I've heard them possibly getting a college coach or something like that. It's like, if you're, I mean, not that they would do anything about it anyway, but if you're Crosby or Malkin or something, like, why would I listen to you? Like, who are you? Like, I would think if you at least get someone, to me, it seems like Tocchet would be almost perfect, because I know he gets respect from the other players. He has experience. I think he could manage that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think Tocchet does have like a relationship with Crosby and Malkin and Letang from being here previously. And I think Dubas wants a coach that has no previous relationship with the core four. I think that's why, like, you won't see David Quinn is the next head coach. I don't think. Like, I think that he wants to just rid this franchise of anything that had to do with Sullivan. And I don't mean that in a mean way or a negative way. It's just he wants to have a clean slate and a fresh start. And that includes like not bringing somebody back that kind of had a previous relationship with the franchise. I think he just wants a fresh face and a fresh start.
Do you think Crosby was upset about this? I mean, I know he was close with Sullivan, but you think maybe he got to understand, like, hey, it's a business. You know, nobody can stay here forever, even if he wanted them to.
Yeah, I think that he's probably upset that it didn't work out. Like, if they would have made the playoffs this year, he would not have been fired. Like, because the expectation, I think, going into the season was 7-8 seed was the best that they could do in the playoffs just to get in, and they probably lose in the first round. I think that was the expectation. And that would have probably saved Mike Sullivan's job. I think even Sidney Crosby has to look and say, okay, we missed the playoffs for 3 years in a row here. And in each year, we've progressively gotten worse. Something has to change. And I think even he is like adverse to change as he is, and, you know, wants to have his people, you know, him and Sullivan are obviously very tight. I think even he has to realize like something had to give here.
Should they ask Crosby for any input into the next coach, or just say, hey buddy, this is happening. This is going to be your new coach, and that's it?
I think Dubas kind of has to take the reins on this. I mean, he can certainly ask for input from maybe Crosby and Letang. I mean, if he wants to talk to Malkin too, this is the last year of Malkin's contract, so we don't know what's going to go on there. But I mean, he could certainly ask for their input, and I think that would actually be a good move to make them feel, you know, valued and part of, you know, what's going on here. But in the end, Dubas has to be the one making that decision. Like, he has to make the decision on what's going to be best for this franchise moving forward. He could obviously value their opinion and consider their opinion, but he ultimately has to make the right decision for this franchise that's going to benefit them for the next, hopefully, you know, 4 or 5 years down the road. And, you know, if Sidney Crosby says, I want Joel Quenneville as the next coach, he has to immediately dismiss that. Like, that
right.
No sense, you know. But yeah, I think it would behoove, if you want to use that word, Sullivan, or I'm sorry, not Sullivan, Kyle Dubas to talk to the core three that have been here the longest for, just to get their input. But ultimately, it has to be his decision based off of his research and what he thinks is best moving forward.
Yeah. The World Championships are starting, I believe, next week, and Kyle Dubas is the GM of Team Canada, and it sounds like Crosby is going to play there too, but that just has to be terrible timing for him, because instead of, it's very hard. I think the championships are in Sweden or something like that, so you're trying to focus on hiring a coach, and you're in the middle of being the GM of this team on another continent. That this could not have been something that Dubas planned.
Yeah, I did think that the timing was odd last week of the parting of the ways. I figured if that was going to happen, it was going to happen at the end of the season. But I think, like I said, I think there was always something kind of brewing in the background with the Rangers. I mean, on one hand, I think him and Sidney Crosby would have a lot of time to talk in the next couple of weeks at the World Championships. But that he's got his assistant GMs and all the other people he has helping him in the front office. I think that they'll be doing that research and legwork for him. And I'm sure with technology, as we're sitting here on a Zoom call, for lack of a better word, I'm sure he could be brought in on some virtual or Zoom calls with potential candidates. He can multitask. But I think I think the timing is a little difficult with the World Championships and now a coach, and the draft is coming up in about a month, maybe 5 weeks here. It's certainly not going to be an easy summer or a quiet summer. He's got lots to do, but I think that he's the right person to do this. I do think that he is the right person to lead this rebuild and this turnaround. I think he gave it the college try for the first couple seasons that he was here, trying to rebuild on the fly, and now with 3 straight seasons and not making the playoffs, it's total rebuild time around the core 4 that obviously I don't think any of them are going to be going anywhere.
He had the impossible task. It's like, okay, I want you to contend now, but we also have to prepare for the future. Like, it seems like it's going to be a fascinating off season. One thing that is, you mentioned Malkin. He is under contract for this year, and that's it. And he's expected to probably retire or go to Russia or something like that. Letang is on for a little bit longer. Letang is until 27, 28, but then again, he has heart issues. So do you think this is we're seeing the beginning of the end of this core? I don't consider Carlson part of the core, even though he's a big player. But the part of the core 3, it's almost the beginning of the end for them, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if Malkin comes to camp healthy and he has a decent season, averages, say he finishes with like 70 points or 65 points or something like that, there might be consideration to sign him to another 1-year deal. I mean, he's definitely not getting anything more than that, but probability is that this is his last season with the Penguins. Letang, I've read some things that maybe he could be traded. I don't think at this stage of his career he wants to be traded, unless the only place I could think that he would want to be traded to would be Montreal.
Right.
I think he's going into his 19th season. I mean, you're pretty set in your ways at that point. So I think he'll be here. I don't think he was bad this year. Like, I think he still has some good seasons left. He's certainly not the Chris Letang of the 2015, 2016. I know he missed a season in there, but you know what I mean. Now, he did have that heart surgery to get that fixed. and the recovery time was only 6 weeks, I think they said. So, hey, maybe that will help him in a way. Maybe he'll have a peace of mind, like I'm healthy now. That's scary though. Like anytime you're dealing with your heart, I don't know. And I mean, the guy is done everything he can in hockey. I mean, I know he hasn't won a Norris Trophy but he's won Stanley Cups. I mean, he's the franchise's all-time leader for defensemen in every category. He just loves playing the game, I think. I know he's a workout freak in the off season, but I mean, to me, when you start messing around with your heart, and this isn't like an isolated incident, this has happened a couple of times now. Yeah. Hopefully the surgery fixed everything for him just on a personal level, that he could be healthy for the rest of his life. But from a hockey perspective, as the further his career goes along, it's just hard to picture him in the year 2027 logging 24 minutes a night. Like who is going to eventually come up and start eating those minutes? I know the Penguins are stuck with Carlson for, I think he's also 2028. But he might even be 2029.
No, he's only 26, 27.
Okay.
But if he sticks around,
who's going to eat up these minutes when these guys aren't here anymore? There's a lot of prospects down there. You just don't know. But like I said, it's hard to picture Chris Letang still playing close to 25 minutes a night 3 years from now.
Chris, retire, man. Just you have a good life. Like this whole heart thing is just, and like you said, this is not the first time this has happened. Like, come on, man. I don't want you to die on the ice. You've had a great career. You have a good life. Just take it easy. But that's just not how athletes are wired. You can't just say, oh, just go retire now. Like, no, it's but it seems like Crosby's the icon, Malkin is the icon, but it seems like Letang is like, he's definitely the third out of three of that core three, and I could totally see him being traded to like Montreal or something like that in the last year or two of his career. I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know. They always you always hear everybody talk about how important it is for Crosby to be the one guy, one team. Yeah, franchise, kind of like Mario did, and his idol Steve Yzerman was only with the Red Wings. But you never hear that same thing come up, like if it's important to Malkin or Letang. And I wonder. I mean, I'm sure it's been asked of them, and they probably give the answer, yeah, it is. But I wonder if Letang got the opportunity to play in Montreal, who is 3 steps ahead in their rebuild compared to the Penguins.
Yeah.
If he would take that opportunity because I believe he has a full no trade clause. Like he would have to approve of any team. And I'm sure that his list would be very limited. It would probably be Montreal and that would be it.
Right. That's fine. And, when you mentioned Malkin might stick on for another year after his dealings, that just made me cringe. Like, I don't want to see him anymore. Thank you for your service. You've had a wonderful career. You're a legend, probably Hall of Famer, but get the hell out of here, man. I'm just so it's like Crosby is still playing at a high level. Malkin sort of there, but I'm just ready for the next era to begin. But I don't want to see Malkin past next year.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm as nostalgic as the next person, but I mean, man, 20 years of 3 guys playing together, that's crazy. I mean,
insane.
We've been lucky as Penguins fans, and it'll definitely be weird the day that years from now, that there's no 87, 71, or 58 out there on the ice, and it's just a completely new roster of players. That'll definitely be a weird day, but it's going to happen. It's got to happen eventually. And yeah, if Malkin has another season like he did this season, which was just an okay season, like if he was their 4th line center,
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But second line center, and I do have to preface this by saying he always gets the short end of the stick with the wingers. Some of the wingers that he's had to play with in the last couple of seasons, it's like no wonder he's not putting up any points. So like I'll give him that benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I mean if he has a decent season this year and wants to come back and be the fourth line center for $1 million, okay, but I don't foresee that scenario playing out.
Right. During the trade deadline, there were rumors, possibly Rust, possibly Raquel being traded, possibly Carlson or something like that. That didn't happen. But could you see any of those guys being traded this offseason?
I mean, I think Raquel has the best trade value. I mean, they were asking a lot for him at the trade deadline. Like I was hearing like multiple first round picks and a prospect. And I'm like, that is crazy. But I mean, we saw like with like Rantanen, not that I'm comparing him to Rantanen, but I mean, we saw like what the return was on him. It was crazy. However, with Raquel, I think that he is staying here. Like Crosby needs somebody to play with.
Right.
I mean, obviously Rust is staying. I think that they want to have at least like one solid top line. And I think Sid really likes playing with Raquel. And I think is much of a big dangling big trade piece that, you know, could probably return a lot. He is. I think Sid wants him here. And I think that's going to be the way it is. I mean, they're, you know, as far as like Graves or Carlson or those contracts are, I think, just like immovable. I just don't know who would take those on unless the Penguins held on to some salary, which there is some salary coming off the books next year. Like they had some retained salary still from I want to say Jack Johnson and maybe two others. That's coming up. Two of the three of them, I think, are coming off the books. So they do have the ability to like maintain some salary in a trade. But those contracts are such behemoths and there's still so much term left on both of them. I just don't see a scenario where a team is going to take those on, or I don't see a buyout either because there's still so much term left on both of those. And then that, you know, when you buy somebody out, that gets spread out double the length of whatever that is left on the contract. So I don't think that Dubas wants to take on that cap hit for, you know, the next 6 years or whatever it might be. You know, you could see some other potential trades. You know, I think Kevin Hayes has another year left on his deal. Trade him for a 7th round pick or, you know, something like that. But beyond that, I just don't see any trade partners for those big contracts or Tristan Jarry for that matter. I think that is also another immovable contract unless you keep, you know, 50% of the salary or, I mean, he still has 3 more years left on that deal.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done anything to warrant like a team saying, yeah, I think that he could be our starting goaltender next, you know, there's very little confidence instilled by watching the way he plays. On some nights there is, and some nights you're like, oh, wow, he looks like the all-star Jarry, but then the very next game, it's like, oh, this is the guy that gave the puck away in the Islanders series, you know, 5 years ago.
The man single-handedly lost a playoff series. That's pretty impressive.
It is. It's very. It was. I'm even when I watch replays of that, I'm still in shock.
Yeah, unbelievable. It is just amazing. I don't remember when they bought out Jack Johnson. It feels like 5 years ago, at least. And they are still paying. They still, 2025-26 is the last year they still have to pay. They have his salary on the books. That is insane. Yeah. So, buyouts are not a good thing.
Yeah, the buyouts are. I mean, it helps in the short term, but it really, you hope that the salary cap goes up every year and it's less of a impact on your bottom line. But man, spreading that out over like years down the road, it's not like a best practice for sure.
Crazy. Who among we've already seen some of the prospects come up. Who do you think is like ready to contribute next season from Wilkes-Barre?
Definitely McGroarty and Koivunen. I mean, that's probably an obvious answer, but I think that those two are definitely ready. It was a shame that McGroarty got hurt at the end of the season there. I know there was only like 5 games left, but it seemed like he was kind of developing some chemistry with Sid there. Those two are definitely the two that come to mind. And then, the only thing I want to see is these guys get a fair shot in training camp. I want to see them get a fair shot, and including Morishchev, the goaltender. I think that, I mean, you look at what he's done in the minors, and I know that he's young, and I know we've got the Penguins have Nedeljkovic signed for next year, which he could actually be somebody who could be traded in the offseason. Maybe get a 4th round pick just to free up, because there's so many goaltending prospects with Blomqvist and Morishchev down there. I want to see those guys get a fair shake. Blomqvist didn't impress while he was up here this year, but I want to see them both get a fair shot at cracking the Penguins roster this year, because I think that, especially Morishchev, at least give him the 10 games, maybe give him 10 games and see what happens. But that's all I want to see. I just want to see these guys get a fair shot to actually make the team out of spring training, out of baseball in my mind, out of training camp, and go from there. But I mean, Koivunen and McGroarty have to be on the roster on opening night next year.
Yeah. Maybe Pickering.
Yeah. It's funny you don't hear his name as much, but he is a very highly thought of prospect, and I think if honestly, if he's not on the opening night roster either, and barring injury or something, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. So they have all these draft picks, 30 draft picks over the next 3 years, but the thing about draft picks is, I mean, they I think I have 10 draft picks this year. Yeah. Those people won't be ready to contribute until like 3 or 4 years from now.
No.
So do you think they're going to trade some of those draft picks for prospects, for established players? How do you think that's all going to work out?
I think that he's going to leverage some of those draft picks to get proven. This is going to sound weird to say. It's like an oxymoron. Proven prospects, if that makes sense. Okay. Like, this guy is tearing it up in the AHL. We're going to trade you our next 2 second-round picks because we have an extra second-round pick for this player. Because you said you can't use all 30 of those picks and just hope that in 3 years that all these guys are going to all of a sudden come to fruition. I mean, we'll never see another scenario where in 3 consecutive years the Penguins draft, Fleury, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Stahl. That's never going to happen again. Yeah. Like the chances of that happening again are very slim. So you need to leverage those picks for proven players that you can bring in, the proven young players. I'm not talking about like Kevin Hayes or somebody like that. I'm picking on poor Kevin Hayes today, but I think that he's going to leverage some of those picks. I mean, 30 picks, it's great. And I think that it does help having a lot of picks. I think that, the saying, throw a bunch of crap at the wall, hopefully something sticks. I think that that's kind of his philosophy, But I also think that you don't want to use all 30 of those picks to throw a bunch of crap at the wall and hope it sticks.
Right.
So I could see him, trading, 5 or 6 of those picks to get varying levels of prospects. And I'm not saying they're going to go out and get the number one prospect from like 3 different teams. You got to fill out your bottom 6 too. But I would say he's going to use the majority of those picks to actually draft players, but I could see him taking 5 or 6 of those picks and trading them for more proven players.
It just drives me crazy because these are 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Like at least, with the NFL draft, these are 21, 22, 23-year-olds that have played, that have some, experience, and they're a little more, they're ready to contribute. But with baseball and hockey, you get them when they're 18 and you just hope for the best. And a lot of times it just doesn't work out. And it was amazing that, Crosby was generational and Malkin was almost that, can't miss prospect. But you see so many of these high draft picks that just don't work out. It's crazy.
Yeah. Look at, in Chicago, Bedard. I mean, listen, he's still a good player, but they thought that he would have helped to turn that franchise around by now, and they're still in the draft lottery. I mean, look at a guy like Taylor Hall. Yeah, he's still in the league. He was, I believe, he was the number 1 overall pick. He's just kind of been a guy.
He had like one good year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are definitely examples of that. I mean, and it goes back to what I was just saying. How crazy is it that Malkin, Crosby, Letang, Fleury, and Jordan Staal all played for the Penguins when they were 18 years old? Mm-hmm. I think Malkin might have been 19, but I know not all of them played their whole 18-year-old season with the Penguins, but the fact that all 5 of those guys played parts of their 18-year-old, in Malkin's case, I think it was 19-year-old season, is crazy. And they contributed. It wasn't just like they were just like guys playing 6 minutes on the fourth line. I mean, they were contributing.
I remember Letang was not supposed to be up. I think he was like a junior guy. And it was one of those deals where it's like, okay, we'll play you for 10 games and then send you down. And he's like, we're not going to send you down. We'll just keep you. So yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, they really struck gold there. So we'll see what happens. The Penguins have 24 million about in cap space. Actually, I'm seeing about 21 million, but they have some money to spend. Do you think they'll go out and make a big splash in free agency?
I do think that they're going to go out and sign one big name guy, and I think it might be Mitch Marner.
Bingo. I was thinking of him.
Yeah. I think the connection to Kyle Dubas, obviously being the previous GM in Toronto, I think the fact that the Maple Leafs probably aren't going to be able to afford him because of all their other guys that they got there, not the least of which Austin Matthews taking up a lot of cap space. I think that there might be some merit to that. And I think that would be a good building block for the future. And Penguin fans, let's face it, they're all used to having those marquee names. I mean, he's probably going to want a big deal for long term, and I think that the Penguins' cap situation is such that they can afford to do that, and we'll see. I think that there is definitely merit to that, though.
He's only 28. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to probably want like a 7 or 8 year deal. And I mean, his track record speaks for itself. Can you imagine a power play with, Crosby and Marner out there together and, whoever else?
I heard a rumor that it's just so annoying. All these media people keep wanting to trade Crosby to like Colorado or some contending team because it's a shame to have him waste away on the Penguins when they don't even make the playoffs. And now that Colorado got eliminated already, it's like, well, maybe let's not waste McKinnon. Let's have McKinnon play with Crosby and trade McKinnon to Pittsburgh or something like that.
And all that stuff about trading Crosby to Colorado is going to come back up again if McKinnon and Crosby play well at the World Championships, which I'm sure they will.
Right.
So we'll be starting to hear all that again. But I mean, I wish people would just stop talking. Like, it's just not going to happen. Crosby's going to finish his career here, and I think that's what he wants to do. He'll probably sign another deal after this current one expires.
I was going to say, he is still playing at a high level. I could see him easily playing at a high level for another 3, 4, 5 years. So, yeah,
he's fanatical. I mean, how many other 38-year-olds are playing at the World Championships, let alone, excluding Marc-Andre Fleury, but that's a exception. It's a nice story. But, I mean, this guy has won everything, proven like everybody that he's one of the top 3 players to ever play the game, and he's 38 years old, and he'll be 38 in August, and he's out there playing at the World Championships. Like, does anybody question this guy's passion for playing hockey?
Right. Yeah, he's a machine. And when you think about all the other legends of Pittsburgh sports, there's always a little bit of controversy or something like that. Not Crosby. He's just the most boring dude ever. All he is a hockey machine, and that's all he cares about is hockey.
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel bad for him when he actually does retire. Like, he's gonna have a rough time adjusting to normal life. He'll probably walk right into a GM role or something.
Something like scout, something like
that. Like he'll have to be involved with hockey. Probably the Penguins. He'll probably just buy part of the team and be the GM or something.
Sure, why not? Crosby and Fleury are going to play together, and aren't they legendary for the pranks they play on each other?
Yes.
I could see him creating an international incident or something like that. I mean, they do some elaborate pranks. It is really funny.
Yeah, I hope that there's a camera from Penguins media, or
I'm sure there will be
Wild media, following them around. The one where Fleury was inside the hockey bag and jumped out and he zipped himself in the bag. Do you remember that one? Yeah. Or the one where he taped all of Crosby's equipment together in a big ball at the All-Star game. I mean, there was a video. He had one of his Minnesota teammates. He had the car up on blocks. He took all the tires off of his car. I mean, that I'm definitely gonna miss his pranks. I mean, you could go out there and Google best Marc-Andre Fleury pranks. It's out there. What a guy.
He's a saint. He was just the best guy. I mean, it's a big what if. It's what if they just kept
I don't know
him?
I mean, it was the right move at the time, but who could have ever known how that would play out? My favorite Marc-Andre Fleury, when I was interviewing him one time, it was the scrum after the game, and he's describing a save that he made, and he goes, and then I stuck my glove out, and he knocked my recorder out of my hand, and he stops in the middle. It's just a little recorder this big, and it landed on his goalie pads. The recorder did, and he stops the interview and he picks it up and hands it back to me, and he says, "Do I get another save for that?" What a guy! There'll never be another guy like him. I'm happy for him going into retirement. And it was funny. There was a quote. They asked him, "Why did you choose to play for the World Championships?" He goes, "I went home and my kids were acting crazy, and I thought, I need to get out of here."
Yeah. I'd rather go play hockey than deal with him.
I'm paraphrasing, but that was the quote.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people say, "Oh, they should have kept Fleury and got rid of Murray." If that happened, if they actually did that, they would have put Rutherford like in an institution or something like that. I mean, it was
all 30 GMs would have made the same move given
Yeah.
the circumstances, and
exactly.
it's just unfortunate the way things played out. I mean, look, Fleury went on to be a legend in Vegas. They'll probably retire his number there as well as Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, he, went on to the Stanley Cup final. I mean,
True legend of the game, and one of those number one draft picks that I think he was first overall that actually worked out. And I think the Penguins actually traded up. I think they had the third pick that year, and they traded up to get him in the first overall pick.
I'd have to look it up, but I think they traded with Florida.
I believe it was Florida, yeah.
The number one pick that year, yeah.
Yeah. And then somehow, I've never heard of this, the Penguins enter the lottery and do worse. Like they were supposed to get 9th, and now they're 11th.
Well, 11th. I don't know how that happened. I was kind of out doing stuff, and I got the alert on my phone, and the Islanders, who don't even have a general manager, somehow fell into the first round pick, which I know it's a draft lottery, anything can happen. And then the Penguins, who are finally, I'm like, okay, they're going to get a top 10 pick at least. They fall out of the top 10 to 11. And the Rangers still need to decide if they're going to let the Penguins have their pick this year or push it off to next year. If they give it to the Penguins this year, the Penguins will pick 11 and 12.
Yeah. But most likely they'll probably wait till next year or something.
Yeah, because they're going to be better. I mean, you would think and hope that they would be better from their perspective. And they will most likely wait until next year for that pick to go to the Penguins. And I'm sure it'll be like a middle to high pick. It'll probably be in the 20s, but it's still a first round pick regardless.
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right. So how can people find you and follow you and get more of your work?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at PGHVC. Occasionally I'll contribute to some of the stuff that Stan Fischler writes on the hockey news. But you can mostly find me on Twitter, just ranting and raving about hockey and other sports in general. But that's the best place to find me, at PGHVC on Twitter. And I just did look it up. Florida and Pittsburgh did trade picks that year to get Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah. Crazy. That worked out very well. All right. Hey, thanks so much.
Anytime.
All right. I'll see you.